All right, I'm back to my original MacBook Pro recording with QuickTime because I've got none of my camera equipment with me. But I figured since it's January 2nd, I should make my year-end roundup video since I haven't made a video probably in like 6 months. So I think first place to start is to just go back to the predictions of 2021 and see how that fared. So you can see in my first video that I made on this channel, which was at the beginning of the year, you can see my predictions for 2021, just to make sure that I'm not trying to fool anybody here. Now that we're in 2022, let's go and look through each one of the predictions, starting with number one, which was Bitcoin going above 50,000. That actually turned out to be the case. I think it started around 30,000 or so. So I thought I was making some big move or big bold prediction saying 50K, but it actually went well above beyond that. I think back in November it was around $69,000, or I don't think it quite touched that point, but it got pretty high. But since then it's come down. I think it's below 50,000 around that. Actually, I put in the price here at the end of the year, 47,733. So a little bit below 50,000 ending, but it did go above that number throughout the year. So that is number one, hit that one. Number two was the Fed was still going to be accommodative. So it's going to keep rates low, going to provide a stimulus package, provided many stimulus packages, one of them being the American Rescue Plan and child tax credits, all kind of a part of a $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan. So I think at the time they were thinking about 600 million, and so obviously 1.9, at least three times more than that. That stimulus package definitely came through. So I would say that is a correct prediction there. I think number three was about the COVID and about the fact that we were, thinking about, what's going to open up first, businesses, schools, whatnot. So I thought that schools would reopen first. That actually was the case. And, I think a lot of parents and children even, were suffering quite a bit, staying at home, and the learning was just not happening to as good of a degree as actually being in class and being around other students and teachers and whatnot. So that prediction turned out to be correct. And so number four, I said that vaccinations were not going to be widely distributed as hoped. That actually was the case, where vaccination was not going to reach herd immunity. That's what I said at the beginning of the year. Even though we have vaccinations available, I just didn't trust just the everyday American so much, at least at a large scale, to reach that 75 to 80%. So we ended up coming in at 62% vaccinated at the end of the year. So quite a bit less than the 75-80 that people were hoping for. My next prediction, so that I think I hit that one pretty well. Next prediction was there's going to be a mutation or a variant of COVID this year, and so that was going to have to, each time something like that would have come out, you'd have to get some sort of additional vaccination. This year they called it a booster, so that was the third vaccination that people had to get. And that was in response to Delta, and currently what we're going through right now, the Omicron variant. And so I think I hit that one pretty well. Number, I think 5 or 6, I'm not sure which I'm up to, but that next one was Treasury yields rates rising. I think I said that the long was going to continue to steepen. I predicted 1.25 or 1 to 1.5%, which was on the top end of my range, but still stayed within 1.5%, or at least pretty darn close to it, 1.51. So I'm going to give myself a pass on that one. So I'm going to say that one was correct. Next prediction was COVID deaths were going to go over 600,000. Um, Obviously, end of the year, bad numbers, 800,000 people dead from the COVID virus. And yeah, I mean, obviously that's not a good number to hit, but it was a prediction. I actually was going to say 800,000, but obviously 2020, so I'm not going to do that. But it obviously went way above the 600K that I was predicting. So I would say that came out to be true. The next prediction was single family homes really taking off. So I was going to say, I said that the values are going to go over 10%, which for any given year, if you're anywhere above, like, call it 5-6% a year, that's pretty big inflation growth in values of homes. And we actually just we doubled that. We hit over or close to 20% year over year by the end of 2021. So an absolutely stellar year for homes and home valuation. So I'm going to say that came out to be true. The other prediction I just mentioned, the 1.5% on the 10-year Treasury, came to be true. So the next one was hotels and big box retail having a recovery. So if you look at anything like Simon's Property Group, for retail, or using Macy's as a proxy for retail, Simon's, you would see that retail just had a absolutely amazing comeback in 2021. So you just look at Simon's for a second. And so ended the year at 159.77. Started the year around 85. So call it, like a pretty much, I would say like close to 100% return. Well, not quite, but close enough. So that definitely happened. I would say let's just try to look up like Hilton worldwide and see how that did for the year, just to kind of give you another proxy for hotels and how they performed. And so they started off the year at around looks about 108, so 155, at least a 50% return. So another good prediction, I think. So I'm gonna do a check mark for that guy. And then my last prediction, which I think was a spot on prediction, which had to do with inflation going to rise towards the end of the year. And we are definitely seeing that. And I believe that the current inflation rate, we can go here, is you can see 6.8%. So that is astounding, considering that the Fed and everyone else always predicts anywhere from 2 to 3%. And so I think we absolutely smashed that. So basically on every single prediction for 2021, it all turned out pretty spot on. Going to the portfolio for year end, you can see, even though I hit all my predictions, I think I got a little bit too cute, basically, on all the picks for the year and kind of changing in and out of them. I probably should have just put everything into SPY and I would have been just fine. But I was into this diversification mode to kind of get between cryptos as well as the precious metals. Had this China exposure and Euro exposure, and a bunch of names in the hotel space. So I would say probably one of the big winners was probably Google. Google had a heck of a year. We can see here just to see how well Google did in terms of big tech. Definitely one of the big winners. So Google ended at 28.93, and at the beginning of the year it was around 17 or so. So 1900 point increase or so. So that's not too bad. That's about at least around 70%. So pretty darn good return for Google. But yeah, really for the most part, I would say probably the biggest winners here were Ethereum. Uh, Basically, I think almost doubling. I know that at the time it was over 4,000. So definitely Ethereum are the big winners. SPY should have stuck with it. Google and a couple other winners in here as well. But definitely, as you can see, as a total portfolio, I want to say only 12.5%, which is actually a pretty good year by anyone's standards historically. But when compared to the indices, you can see that the S&P just had a crushing year of 27%. The Dow at 18 and almost 19%. The Nasdaq over 21%. So really, if you stuck with any of these indices, you would have done great. But 12.5%, not too shabby, but definitely compared to the indices, not very good. So I would say really for the next year, for 2022, I'm gonna just really condense this down to just a couple of choices. I'm probably gonna just stick long with the S&P and maybe a couple of names that I'll mention in my 2022 prediction. So why don't we go on to 2022, see what the new predictions are for this year, see how well I do, if I can replicate 2021. So number one is, and I think everyone knows this, but I am going to put a twist on this. So obviously, this is going to be the end of this whole QE, Fed easing, being accommodating in terms of purchasing. I think it was like 120 billion in treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. Obviously, that's all going to go away by the end of this first quarter. And to combat this inflation, which they're basically, like, if you look into the markets, they're still thinking that this inflation is going to be transitory. Everyone calls it transitory, so it's just going to last for a really short period of time. But I think that's wrong. It's going to be intransigent, I think, which is really going to stick with this high inflation. Maybe not quite 6.8%, but definitely higher than normal. So higher than the 3%, I would say. Probably closer to 3 to 4%. But nonetheless, the Fed has a couple of mandates. One is to keep full employment. The second is to keep inflation or deflation in check. So yeah, I think that they're going to be doing a couple rent increases, at least 3, and instead of and this is my contrarian kind of view, I don't think it's just going to be 25 basis points for each one of these Fed updates, but I think you're going to see more like 50 basis point changes. So I don't think they're going to come. I don't think there's going to be a lot of increases throughout the year, but I think that the times that the Fed does increase the Fed funds rate, it's not going to be a 25 basis point bump. It's going to be more like 50 or higher. Again, all this is trying to combat this real runaway inflation, which I do not think is going to be transitory. At least it's going to go beyond just a few months or a quarter or two or something like that. It will last throughout the year. Okay, number 2, big prediction for 2022 is I think the yield curve is actually going to flatten. So everything's going to be a setup for a recession. Not this year or in 2022, but sometime in the future, 23, 24, I'm not quite sure yet, but you're going to see the yield curve start to flatten, which is one of the best predictors out there for a recession to come. Number three is a pretty interesting prediction. So, I always talk about to my friends about millennials never having a shot at making a lot of money. So, their shot was here and here. So, cryptocurrencies have really taken off, and to make it so that people are really using it to buy things and to sell things, through whether it's like NFTs or whatnot. I think that the best way to use commerce in that way will be in the form of the metaverse. So I really think that that's going to really take off in the virtual reality. I think that's going to be that kind of real estate is going to be something that millennials are going to just basically taking all that money, all those gains from their crypto wins, and then try to monetize it even more, going into the virtual world. And I think that those kinds of prices, that kind of value, there might be even lending platforms, financing coming up. That's really going to spark a huge growth in the metaverse. So that's my third. Number four, I think e-trucks are going to really take off. So think of Rivian, which I think, and I'll make. I'm thinking about not making timely or weekly, monthly type of videos. Maybe I'll do it on a quarter and then kind of do a year-end review just to see how I've performed. But I think that one of the single stocks that I'm going to choose for year 2022 is going to be Rivian. And so I really think that Etrucks are going to really spike up. They've got a great, partial ownership, and they're going to be providing a lot of the Amazon truck fleet. And so I think electric vehicles, we've already seen it proven, from Tesla, and the cost of building batteries has really come down quite a bit. So really, you can, in terms of affordability, electric vehicles versus gas powered. I mean, it's already there. So the economics are there, and I think sedans, easy transition to trucks, heavy duty trucks, I think is just the next step. So that's my fourth prediction. My fifth prediction is that I think home prices are still going to rise, not to the tune of like 20%, but definitely in the tune of maybe probably I would say 10%. So that's my next prediction, is that home prices will continue to rise. You're seeing more family formations, with one of the biggest populations going right now, which is the millennials. So they're starting to build out families, and they're going to want to have a place to live. So they're going to have to take all those winnings that they got from Bitcoin and Ethereum and put it into a home. Start a happy family. So that is prediction number 5. Okay, so the 10-year Treasury. So, like I said, I think everything is going to start to flatten out as years goes by. You're going to see a lot of market volatility. You're going to see the VIX spike quite a bit in the year. But, I think overall, the stock market is going to do fine. It's just that it's going to be a little rocky. And so at the end of the day, I think 10-year treasuries, with what the Fed's going to do, you're going to see at least a 1% gain in the 10-year, maybe higher than that. And I think let's just call it my last prediction. I'm not going to do 10 this year. I'll do it looks like about 7. Is that we will have a return to office. And we'll have all this coronavirus, a bit better controlled. If there is a new variant, which I'm 100% certain that that's going to happen, we have the science to be able to build out vaccinations pretty quick. So we'll be able to attack that, any of those future variants that are predicted last year, in a much quicker fashion this year. And so I think companies will, just want to have people back in the office and working. So that I think is another one of the ETFs I'm going to be adding to the 2022 portfolio, which is I think it already had a pretty good year, but VNQ, so the Vanguard Real Estate Index. Let's see what kind of year this guy's had. Yeah, it's had just an absolutely stellar year. So 82-ish, 81 up to 116. So a really great return. But that's it. So that's all for today, and we'll see how the year shapes up.